You told yourself you would wake up early. You did not. You told yourself you would stop wasting time. You did not. You told yourself this week would be different, and now it is Sunday evening and nothing has changed. Somewhere inside, a quiet voice keeps count. Every broken promise, every abandoned plan. Every morning you chose comfort over what you know matters, and after enough of these small betrayals, that voice stops believing you altogether. You say you will change. It replies, no, you won't. This is the real cost of a life without discipline. Not failure, not laziness, something worse, the slow erosion of self-trust. But here is what most people misunderstand. They think discipline is the cure for weakness. They imagine harshness, punishment, and endless war against their own nature. It is none of those things. Discipline is not self-punishment. Discipline is self-respect. It is the quiet decision to treat yourself as someone whose word matters, someone whose time is not cheap, someone whose promises, especially the ones made in private, to no audience, deserve to be kept. This changes everything. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus understood this deeply. He taught that we suffer not because of events themselves, but because of our judgments about them. And he believed that the faculty of choice, our ability to decide how we respond, is the one thing that truly belongs to us. Epictetus knew this not from reading books in a comfortable study. He was born a slave in the Roman Empire. His master once twisted his leg so violently that it broke, leaving him permanently disabled. According to one account, as his leg was being broken, Epictetus calmly said, "You are going to break it." And when it snapped, he added, "I told you so." No anger, no pleading. Only the quiet exercise of the one freedom no one could take from him, the freedom to choose his response. He would later become one of the most influential philosophers in history. Not despite his suffering, but through it. His entire philosophy was forged in the understanding that external circumstances can imprison the body, but only our own judgments can imprison the mind. Discipline, in this sense, is simply learning to use that faculty wisely, because comfort is persuasive. It tells us we can start tomorrow. It tells us we deserve a break. And occasionally, comfort is right, rest has its place, just as winter has its place in the cycle of the seasons. The danger appears when comfort becomes avoidance, when it stops being rest and becomes a habit of retreat, like a stream that stops flowing and slowly becomes stagnant. Many people try to break this pattern through self-criticism, whipping their own spirit with guilt, believing that cruelty will create change. But guilt is like shaking muddy water. The harder you stir, the murkier it becomes. Genuine discipline does not grow from self-hatred. It grows from self-respect. The disciplined person does not constantly punish themselves. They simply learn to keep their word, even in small ways, especially in small ways, because character is built through ordinary moments, not dramatic ones. A person who consistently keeps small promises gradually becomes capable of keeping larger ones, and somewhere in that process, a quiet transformation begins. You start trusting yourself again. When you decide to do something, you do it. Not perfectly, not every time, but often enough that your own words regain meaning. This is where real confidence comes from, not from positive thinking, not from affirmations, but from evidence. From the accumulated weight of 1,000 small moments where you did what you said you would do, because motivation always disappears. Eventually. This is one of the most important lessons we can learn. Many people spend years searching for permanent motivation. But motivation behaves like weather. Some days it is bright and clear. Some days it vanishes completely. Building your life around motivation is like building a house on the bank of a flooding river. Sooner or later, the current shifts and carries everything away. Discipline offers something more reliable. It is the bedrock beneath the sand. It allows action to continue even when enthusiasm is absent, even when the sky is gray and the wind is cold. This does not mean suppressing emotions. It means understanding them the way a river understands the shape of the stones it flows around. You can feel tired and still act. You can feel uncertain and still act. You can feel afraid and still act. Feelings are information. They are not commands. Epictetus put it simply. It is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things. When we understand this, we stop being slaves to every passing emotion. We begin to observe our feelings rather than obey them. This realization creates freedom. Most people spend their lives obeying every impulse that appears in their mind. A desire emerges, they follow it. A discomfort appears, they avoid it. A distraction appears, they chase it. Years pass this way, and eventually they wonder why their lives feel directionless. The answer is simple. A ship without a captain follows the wind. A person without discipline follows impulses. Neither chooses their destination. Discipline is what allows us to choose, not perfectly, but consciously. And conscious living may be one of the rarest things in the modern world. Nearly 2,000 years ago, the Roman philosopher Seneca was stripped of his wealth, his influence, and his position, and exiled to the island of Corsica. Rather than collapse into bitterness, he wrote. For 8 years, in near total isolation, he composed some of the most enduring reflections on the human condition ever written. In his essay on the shortness of life, he observed, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Most people, Seneca argued, are not truly living, they are merely occupied. Many are busy, few are intentional. Many are stimulated, few are present. Discipline is not merely productivity. It is the practice of returning to what matters, again and again, no matter how many times we begin again. If discipline begins with keeping promises to ourselves, then the next challenge is learning how to live without constant approval from others. Arthur Schopenhauer, the 19th century German philosopher, wrote extensively about this struggle. He observed that most people spend their lives obsessed with what others think of them, sacrificing their own judgment, their own taste, even their own happiness, for the sake of reputation. We forfeit 3/4 of ourselves in order to be like other people, he wrote. The problem is not wanting acceptance. That is natural. The problem begins when our entire sense of worth depends upon it. When praise becomes a drug that must be administered daily and criticism feels like a wound that never heals, discipline offers a different path, not because it eliminates the desire for approval, but because it gradually shifts the question from, "Do they approve of me?" to, "Am I living according to my values?" This is a much more stable foundation. Other people's opinions change constantly, but your own values, once clarified, become a compass that does not waver with the wind. To live this way requires quiet courage, the courage to disappoint people when necessary, the courage to walk your own path without constant reassurance. This courage grows in solitude. Schopenhauer believed that the capacity for solitude was one of the clearest signs of inner strength. A man can be himself only so long as he is alone, he wrote. He lived these words. For the last 27 years of his life, Schopenhauer lived alone in Frankfurt, following the same routine with extraordinary precision. Every morning he wrote. Every afternoon he played the flute. Every evening he walked the same path along the river with his poodle. The citizens of Frankfurt reportedly could set their clocks by his walks. To the outside world, this looked like a small and lonely life. But in that solitude he produced works that would influence Nietzsche, Freud, Einstein, and countless others. Solitude is not loneliness. Loneliness is the pain of feeling disconnected. Solitude is the ability to enjoy your own company. One feels like absence, the other feels like presence, and it is in that presence that discipline transforms. It no longer feels like constant resistance. Instead, it becomes alignment, the way a river naturally finds its course through the landscape. When you know what matters, many distractions lose their appeal. You no longer need to fight every temptation. You simply stop giving equal importance to everything. This is one of the hidden benefits of maturity. As we grow older, we gradually realize that attention is precious, perhaps our most precious resource, more valuable than money, more valuable than status, because where attention goes, life follows. A distracted life becomes a fragmented life. A focused life becomes a meaningful one. This does not mean becoming obsessed with productivity. The goal is not to transform yourself into a machine. The goal is to become present, to be fully engaged with whatever deserves your attention. A conversation, a walk, a book, a piece of work, a quiet evening. Many of life's richest experiences are surprisingly simple, but they require presence, and presence requires discipline. Without discipline, attention is constantly stolen by algorithms, by impulses, by endless streams of stimulation. As Seneca warned, people are frugal in guarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to squandering time, they are most wasteful of the one thing in which it is right to be stingy. To reclaim attention is to reclaim life itself. Perhaps this is why discipline creates a sense of freedom. Friedrich Nietzsche understood this paradox. He believed that true freedom is not the absence of constraints, but the ability to impose constraints upon oneself. He called this self-overcoming, the continuous struggle to rise above one's own limitations. Nietzsche lived this principle under conditions that would have silenced most people. In his 40s, nearly blind, suffering from relentless migraines and insomnia, he wandered alone through the mountains of Switzerland and Italy. He had no university position. His books sold almost no copies. His former friends, including Richard Wagner, had abandoned him. Yet every morning, despite the pain, he sat down and wrote. In cheap boarding houses, in borrowed rooms, sometimes barely able to see the page he produced. Thus spoke Zarathustra, beyond good and evil, and the genealogy of morals, works that would reshape Western thought. He did not write because conditions were favorable. He wrote because writing was who he had chosen to be. He who cannot obey himself will be commanded, he wrote. That is the nature of living things. Discipline does not remove limitations. It frees us from unconscious habits. It frees us from compulsive distraction. It frees us from the need to chase every impulse. It frees us from living on autopilot. This freedom is not dramatic. There are no fireworks, no sudden transformation. Most personal growth is surprisingly ordinary. Day after day, choice after choice, moment after moment. The changes are almost invisible, until one day you look back and realize something has shifted. You feel more at home within your own mind. This is not perfection. Perfection is neither possible nor necessary. There will still be setbacks. There will still be mistakes. There will still be days when discipline feels difficult. The difference is that failure no longer becomes an identity. You stop seeing yourself as broken. You stop treating every mistake as evidence of weakness. Instead, you learn to begin again, again and again, without drama, without self-hate, without giving up. Perhaps this is the deepest lesson discipline has to offer. Not control, not achievement, not superiority, but self-reliance. The quiet, knowing that when life becomes difficult, you will not immediately run. When discomfort appears, you will not immediately escape. You may stumble, you may pause, you may even fall, but you will continue. And perhaps that is enough. Because a meaningful life is not built through grand moments of inspiration. It is built through countless ordinary choices made with awareness. A meaningful life is not created by becoming someone else. It is created by becoming fully yourself. Nietzsche captured this beautifully in 3 words: become who you are, not who society tells you to be, not who your fears have shaped you into, but the person you were always capable of becoming, if only you had the discipline to stay the course, patiently, honestly, one day at a time. And in the end, discipline may not be about forcing yourself to become extraordinary. It may simply be about becoming someone you can trust, someone who keeps their word, someone who remains present, someone who acts according to what matters, not because anyone is watching, not because recognition is guaranteed, but because this is who they have chosen to be. And there is a quiet peace in that, a peace that cannot be given by success, a peace that cannot be taken away by failure. So the next time comfort whispers that you can begin tomorrow, remember that tomorrow is built from today's choices. Not dramatic choices, ordinary ones, the kind no one sees, the kind that slowly become a light.